A very good afternoon and warm greetings to one and all present here. Hope everyone is safe and healthy. Starting with a beautiful quote is always worthwhile as it transforms any situation into lively, motivating, and positive one. Here is a famous quote I would like to share in this beautiful day. If we don't change, we don't grow. If we don't grow, we are not really living. With that being said, I hope I lifted your spirits up. I am pleased to introduce myself as Ms. Ramya, Assistant Professor from the Department of Human Resource Management, to take up this lovely task of hosting today's program. In this matter of immense pride and pleasure to have you all here for an international webinar on managing global workforce organized by the Department of Human Resource Management of Dr.M.G.R. Educational and Research Institute University. Dear participants, we appreciate you taking time off your busy schedules to join us for today's event. We assure you that you will learn a lot today. We have lined up for you to be fruitful and engaging. I have a few housekeeping notes to make before we begin today's program. First, the feedback form will be available in the YouTube chat box at the end of the session. Your request to complete and submit the form before today 6 p.m. Later, the form will be deactivated. The e-certificate for participation will be sent to register email within 5 working days. Dear audience, if you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the YouTuber chat box. I will bring them up to the presenter and we will also have time for questions at the end. Now we are geared up for the program. I will first like to recognize and acknowledge our guest speaker of the day. We are fortunate that we have got an expert who knows more about on global workforce. It's none other than Dr. Supriya Sharma, Madam. Madam, we are privileged to have you here as our resource person. Heading to the program. To begin the auspicious occasion, I would like to invite our head of the department, Dr. R.J.M., who has consistently have been the pillar of strength and source of motivation. Ma'am, I request you to formally welcome and gathering. Over to you, ma'am.
Think where dreams don't work unless you do and put your effort. With this wonderful quote, a very good afternoon and a very warm welcome to one and all. On behalf of the Department of Human Resource Management, Dr.M.G.R. Educational Research Institute, along with Young Minds for the international webinar on employability. For this webinar. Heartfelt gratitude to our founder chancellor, Dr. A.C. Shanmugam, and to our honorable president, engineer A.C.S. Arun Kumar, for their never-ending support and encouragement towards conducting various programs. Hearty welcome to our versatile and knowledgeable speaker of the day, Dr. Supriya Sharma, Executive Director of Brain Globe. She is an award-winning business alchemist with a vision to illuminate the world with magical experiences. Her forte lies in strategizing to enrich the excellence journeys of organizations with a resourceful alloy of culture transformation, entrepreneurial mindset, service psychology, and design thinking. We are so happy to have you today with us and a very warm welcome, ma'am. It's my pleasure to thank our joint registrar, Mr. Prabhu, Dean Administration, Dr. K. Sendil Kumar, Dean Academics, Dr. A.R. Arnachalam, and to all the executives, deans, HODs, faculty members, and to all others for their wonderful motivation and support to us in all the ways. This international webinar will be an eye-opener for all of us because this is the current topic which everyone or the business people which they want to know about it. So before that, I welcome and thanks to Mr. Ganesh Babu for this wonderful technical support in making all our program a grand success. The global business environment is an ever-changing one. As technology continues to help accelerate international expansion, more and more companies are reaping the rewards of an international presence. However, a positioning your organization competitively involves creating a solid HR plans related to our workforce globalization. Globalization has affected workforce management in ways that have still yet to be fully measured. The process isn't complete and will continue changing as the needs of companies change. However, globalization has already had a marked impact on how companies manage their workforces. Companies should have be more culturally aware, not only because their own staff may be diverse, but also because they may work with or partners with companies from across the world. For some companies, globalization means thinking about where they hire for certain position because pay scales are different across the world. Certain positions may be better suited for hiring abroad. This doesn't mean that HR has more work to do in order to manage the different pay structures and benefits that employees in different countries may receive. On top of that, management styles may need to be adjusted depending on where workers are located. As recent advancement in technologies have made remote work possible than ever before, many organizations which have begun cultivating a workforce of employees living in locations across the globe. While managing a global workforce can be a challenging task, there are key actions you can take to improve your strategy as a leader. To make know much about managing global workforce, today we have Dr. Supriya Sharma with us. Hope this international webinar will be an enriching session for all of us. Once again, I welcome you all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your earnest welcome address. Now, without further ado, we will turn the time over to introduction. I now call upon Ms. Lokeshwari, Assistant Professor from the Department of Human Resource Management, to introduce our eminent chief guest. Over to you, madam.
Thank you, Ramya. To be inspired is great. To be an inspiration is an honor. With the warm words, I'm happy to introduce our guest of honor, Dr. Supriya Sharma, Executive Director, Blanco, Italy. Our speaker is the award-winning business alchemist with a vision to illuminate the world with magical experience. Her fortune lies in strategizing to enrich the excellence journey of organization with a resourceful of allied culture, transformation, entrepreneurial mindset, service psychology, and design thinking. She is known to connect the individual of organization to their limitless potential and is pattern clients in success across Africa, Asia, Europe, and North America that range from government offices, not-for-profit business, small and medium enterprises to million-dollar multinationals. Her background is a techno-commercial with progressive and sound corporate practicing in the entire gamut of management across diverse industrial segments. Besides, leadership and spirituality are the perfect topics to spark a conversation with her. She's she's been featured in international magazines of like the Entrepreneur Limbis Global, the Explore, etc. And her management articles, research work can be spotted in prestigious journals. We are grateful to you, madam, for accepting our invitation at such short notice to be our guest of honor. We wish you good luck in all your endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. It was an outstanding profile. Now, the most awaited time has arrived. Without any further delay, I welcome our speaker for the day, Dr. Supriya Sharma, to proceed with the presentation. Madam, we have no doubt that your experience talk is going to be an eye opener for all the participants today. Thank you so much once again for accepting our invitation and gracing the program with your wonderful presence as our resource person. I cordially invite you to enlighten the audience. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank the Institute for giving me the opportunity to be here. It's really an honor to be a part of this program and to speak about managing global workforce, which is such a timely topic. I don't know where you decided to choose upon this topic because this is what we are really facing right now, especially after COVID, when most of the companies started working offline after having worked online for a few months, or rather 2 years for that part. So nothing more timely as in the managing global workforce, because we are facing challenges as of now. Before we even move to the challenges, should we recognize what do we mean by a global workforce? Workforce, as it says, is an international pool of workers who are working for a particular company. Now, the key word here is international because we are looking at the global workforce who are connected through a global system of network and production. Now, according to a recent employment forecast by the World Economic Forum, we've seen that the globally diversified virtual teams are what are going to make a difference in the corporate transformation, the transformation that we are looking about coming in the years, because 2020 and 2021 have already gone by. We haven't realized the benefits that we wanted to realize in those particular years. So we are now banking on 2022 and 2023 to realize the benefits, to reap the benefits of those borderless transformations that we are looking at, having people from all across the globe working together. And like I said, the global expansion is the goal of many organizations. They are having a worldwide reach. Earlier, it used to be only with the multinational corporations who were involved in such management of the global workforce, who had offices in various countries. But now, even small organizations or medium-sized companies have seen to be working globally. Now, what do we do in this regard? Because borders are no longer offering boundaries in the career. Somebody from the United States might be willing to join a company in India and vice versa. We do have some challenges. What are those challenges is first we look at, and then we see how do we overcome those challenges and bring the best out of our workforce and do the best for our organization that we are a part of. The first challenge comes with the onboarding of talent. Onboarding of talent, as we know, helps the co-workers liaise with the new workers and to understand the social, procedural, and the performance aspects of the new organization that they're becoming a part of. And once we are done with the onboarding, we expect these new workers to be seamlessly transcending into the organization and working as a part of the organization. They must realize as to where do they stand, what is the exact role they play in the success of the organization. That is what we understand by onboarding. But how, in case of a global workforce, can there be a challenge in onboarding? Now, these training modules, which we use in onboarding, have to have complete electronic execution if you're talking about a global workforce. If I have an organization here in India and I'm employing people from Russia, now it can be done online. Onboarding has to be done online, right? In which case, there could be some questions in the people who are being onboarded, these new workers we are having for the organizations, which we might not be addressing in real time as we would if we were meeting offline or we were meeting face to face, which is one of the challenges that comes up. Language could be another barrier. Even if you know a language and you understand a language, it's not very easy to share your thoughts in that particular language. And I can attest to this fact because when I moved to Italy about 2 years back, I was invited to give a keynote in one of the organizations. Now, that was the time that I had been learning Italian. So I was quite fluent with Italian in the sense that I could understand very well. And I could speak to some extent. I could have a good conversation in Italian. Now, this organization invited me to give a keynote in Italian. And very willingly, I said, yes, I'm going to do it. It was actually their onboarding function. So it was an onboarding function wherein they were onboarding a new set of 100 employees. So I was invited to give a keynote for that. Now, very confidently, I said, yes, Italian is not going to be a problem. I do understand Italian and I can speak Italian. So there I started. I wrote my speech in English, partly in Italian, as much as I could. And then I started using the Google Translate. All right. Now, the results that came out of this Google Translate was starkly different from what actual Italian would sound or look like. And that is when I had to take the help of my Italian teacher. She said, Supriya, oh, is this your speech in Italian? It is going to be very different from what you intend to say. So she helped me make certain changes in the speech. So I was able to deliver the message that I really wanted to deliver. Why am I sharing this instance? Because even if we say we have the Google Translate and other technological support for making sure that language is not a barrier, language still becomes a barrier if you're not a native speaker in that language. And in that case, we need to have another set of employees which can help us with the translation, who are really good and fluent at the language. So that was just one example to share how language could be a barrier when you're onboarding talent, from different countries and different nationalities. Next, we move on to classifying these international employees. Now, you're having employees from 5 countries, let's say. To classify them is another task. Reports show that global companies average managing 22 payrolls across 31 human resource systems. And that is just an average figure which has been taken from the organizations across the globe. what do organizations do in order to manage this classification properly? Because misclassification can be something that can backfire in a huge way in your organization, and you don't want that to happen. So what do these organizations do? Now, they are going to hire country-specific classification subject matter experts within the organization as they open the doors to these people from various countries. What happens next? If you are not hiring appropriately these subject matter experts, you are going to land in an overstretched and underprepared HR department who will not be able to classify these international workers properly. And if proper classification is not done, again, you are heading to a place where productivity and the enhancement of the organizational profits is going to be an issue. Next, once the organization has employed these new workers, okay, they are in your organization, and not even just new workers. I'm talking about the compensation benefits here, determining the compensation packages. It doesn't only work for new workers, right? Even the seasoned employees in your team, those who've been with your organization for quite a few years, they will come to you in some time or the other wanting to get appraisal and wanting to get their performance recognized, which happens. Now, what happens in case we have global workforce, people across different nationalities? There can be complexities in determining the salaries and the monetary benefits. In case of starters, people who are just starting their career in the corporate world, the culture informs views on money, rank, and power, the status which they hold in the organization. And in some cases, the cultural difference could be so huge, just like in India. And not only in India for that matter, but in many Asian countries, we have this power difference thing. So if there are two people who are interacting, somebody at the lower level is not going to be arguing or is not going to be having a lot of discussion with someone at the higher level. So if you're a starter in an organization in India, technically, you won't even negotiate your pay at all. However, this is changing a bit, coming with the startups and the startup culture who are wanting to give equal status to all the employees which they hold. However, this still is an issue or a challenge that we need to tackle when we are talking about having employees from different nationalities. In fact, you move from one country to another, you would also realize that these compensation benefits also vary. In certain countries, there are benefits or perks which help the employees to take care of their aging parents, or in fact, these benefits sometimes extend to the extended family also, which might not be the case in the country in which your head office is operating. So these local policy changes have to be taken care of when you're moving from one country to another. And when you're talking about the local policy changes, make sure that there is legal compliance, which again is a challenge because labor laws, you would agree, are different. They are country specific. Okay, you might say it's basically it's basically about human rights and treating everybody with respect and dignity. Okay, however, those who are working in the HR, they would know that labor laws go much beyond that, and the employee rights can really cause an issue if not taken care of properly, which requires a sound understanding of where you're working. For example, if you're in the Europe, there are laws that hold the employees protection in terms of the disconnect. What do I mean by the disconnect here? In Europe, you cannot expect your employees to be working more than 48 hours a week. In fact, if you go to France, you cannot be penalized as an employee for not picking calls or not responding to emails after work hours also. Going to Brazil or Japan, if you have to lay off an employee, if an organization has to lay off an employee, there has to be proper justification which has to accompany that. Otherwise, there are legal doctrines that need to be met. So these kind of legal issues, maintaining legal compliance norms, creates an issue at times. Coming to the workflows. So we've spoken about the legalities, coming to the nationalities. However, internally, what is happening with the operations of your organization? Are you having a sustained workflow? Keeping those project progress updated, having an open communication throughout, having benchmarks which are checked on and off, effortlessly planning and then transferring that from one employee to another. Because, an organization would not work in silos. It's always about teamwork that makes the organization a success. So ensuring that everyone is following a work process, a workflow that makes sense to all of them is important. And how do we do that? By understanding the expectations of the employees. That comes first. Now, understanding the expectations of the employees is the place where we start. We said we are going to have a global workforce. However, there were certain challenges. So we said we're going to start somewhere. We're going to make up for these challenges because we need to tap into the international market. Sitting back at home or in my home country will not help. I need to collaborate with people internationally and work together in order to make my organization a success. So as an organization, what do? I decide to make a shift. How do I make that shift? Where do I start? It all starts with culture. So culture, technically, you might refer to a pattern of social behaviors in a certain group. However, in organizational settings, it goes beyond that. For instance, again, take the example of India. So someone working in India might be preferring a strong sense of leadership because we've been conditioned to do so in a way. So working in an organization in India, I would look up to someone who presents a strong skill set, who is approachable and who has good leadership skills. So I can learn from that person. So nothing wrong in that. However, that instance of being guided, wanting to be guided by that person exists in me because I have conditioned to believe in that system of working. However, if you're going to Germany, the employees like to identify with the organization and they adhere with a set hierarchy. Similarly, if you're in a meeting or you're having a conversation with your team members in the United States and you give a thumbs up, it's perfectly all right. It's taken as a positive gesture. However, if you're talking about Nigerian setting or you go to Middle East, in that case, showing a thumbs up might land you in hot water. So having those cultural implications, or rather knowing those cultural implications and how you're behaving and how you're treating the other person makes total sense when you're wanting to go global. So it starts with cultural awareness. These are some of the tips that I'm sharing now that you can inculcate in your organization to make sure that you are reaping the benefits of these borderless operation in the present world. So cultural awareness, we say, could come in various forms. It could be anything related to a cultural talk or celebrating multicultural festivals, which is very common these days. You would see organizations across the globe celebrating festivals from different countries. Why? Just to make sure that all the people within the organization, first of all, are aware, and second, they value diversity and the diverse culture of the people of the globe. Sometimes even overseas programs can help, which can help you reduce the culturally inappropriate behavior. And this is quite commonly seen in these big giants like the Coca-Colas and the IBMs. They have been practicing this philosophy for years, as to have an international immersion program. So it allows you to have a first-hand experience. Now, this first-hand experience is key if you're having an organization that has offices in various locations. Why not give your employees a chance to visit these different locations so they can be there and they can immerse themselves in the culture and in the traditions of the location that we are talking about? Because when they interact in real time, not over Zoom, all right, over Zoom or any other online medium does help. However, going to that location in person and interacting and working with these people is a totally different ball game. So in this rapidly changing landscape where you're expected to be maneuvering your business in the right direction, it is important that you have the knowledge of these cultural immersions. It's a first-hand experience that always helps, rather than what we hear or what we learn from Google. Because, all right, internet has everything these days, and which has helped a lot in terms of enhancing our knowledge. However, first-hand experience and really doing the thing yourself is key to success. I still believe so. Coming to an innovative approach. So you've decided as an organization that you're going to have a global workforce, or you already have a global workforce. How do you make the best out of them? Now, creativity and celebrating the diversity in ideas helps here. Because if your employees or if the people in your team are not creative, then there's no point that this global workforce is going to make sense for you. Because why are we having diversity? In order to reap the benefits of those nationalities that we are bringing in. Because there are stereotypes often associated with countries, that people from country A are XYZ, people from country B are ABC. So those kind of stereotypes are always associated, but they can be really beneficial for your organization. And I was reading an article by the CEO of an organization called TransPerfect. So he's by the name of Phil Shaw, who says that the biggest asset for their organization is the creativity of their employees, and they are functioning in 100 different countries. Okay, so we have 195 countries in all, and they are almost halfway across the globe already in 100 different countries. And they are commenting that creativity is what really helps, because when you are wanting to go global with the local policies, okay, the global policies can give you a concrete kind of a foundation for laying the instructions or for having a certain pattern of working in your organization. But it's always good to be flexible with those global policies in terms of what the local employees are suitable with. What do they find more comfortable? How can we reap the benefits of their productivity? When do they work best? So those are the kind of questions that we need to ask ourselves. And how does that happen? When you have an open communication environment. So that is the third tip. Have an open communication environment in your organization. If you're looking for good employee engagement, create that sense of community. Create that sense of being a family, because if we are working in silos, we are never going to be doing our best. We have to be working together, collaborating. And when does that happen? When I feel that I have a psychologically safe environment to communicate what I want to communicate. It should not happen that if I want to give a feedback about a certain policy or about a certain program that is being discussed in a meeting, I should not be fearful of the fact that I might be fired if I say something negative. Although I have to follow the ethics and the norms and the discipline in the organization, but then this freedom of expressing should exist in the organization. And that's what we say when we are talking about open communication. Companies like BMW, they have done really well in terms of having accessibility for all the employees to come together using virtual collaborative tools. So their employees might be existing in any of their worldwide locations. Their multinational team of specialists do work together using the collaborative tools, and they're able to bring the best in each and every person. That's an example from BMW. And next comes the allowing the scheduling autonomy to your employees. So 70% of the organizations want, rather the people in those organizations want, that their organizations should allow them to work from home. In fact, are you aware that there are certain organizations who have already announced working from home as a permanent change? For example, you have PwC in the United States, Spotify, and Twitter globally, then Kavin Care in India, as I know of. Plus, in fact, IBM says 75% of their workforce is going to be working from home, which is a big, big decision. Now, if these companies are willing to trust their employees with working from home, that is the reason in the first place that they hired them. So trust in the first place must exist. If you can't trust your employees that, okay, they would be doing their job to the best possible ability, and you're always wanting to micromanage them, and the employees have the feeling that the big brother is always watching, now that kind of a feeling doesn't bring the best in any employee or any team member that you have. So allow that scheduling autonomy, especially if you are working in a setting where your morning is somebody else's evening. What happens in that case? Do you always expect the other person to be adapting to your time? Why? It could be 50-50, right? You could be adapting certain times and the other person could be adapting the rest of the times, which is okay. And the teams which are having various nationalities coming from different time zones, this is a general issue. But the organizations must take care of the fact that not always wanting one part of the team to be adapting to a different time zone is what is required, because ultimately we're all humans and we work the best when we are working with our natural biorhythm. That is about scheduling autonomy, giving your employees the autonomy to schedule the calls and the meetings and whatever discussions you have in your organization in order to make sure that you have seamless operations. Now, as when you're doing that, you have to make sure that you're providing equitable benefits, whether it comes to health benefits, the travel or vacation benefits, your rent or housing stipends, There could be an additional package which says the culture-based benefits, because moving from one country to another, as we said, the compensation packages might differ, and that is what takes care of that, the culture-based benefits. These have to be meticulously planned. It could be really complex for the HR teams, so there might be a little more work to do there, but then if done well, this is going to make a huge difference in the success of your organization across the various teams and across various functionalities. Now, those of you who are working in the HR analytics domain, you understand how pivotal data is. These days, you have huge amounts of data available at your disposal, but then how are you using that data to make sure that your organization is making the right decisions based on the data that you're presenting to them? That requires another kind of talent, because the insights from the dashboards that we are presenting, now any software these days could make a dashboard, nothing new in that. There used to be a time 20 years back when even getting a dashboard was a concern, but now you have dashboards, any kind of colorful dashboards with any parameters are available to you. But then what is the data that really matters, and how to present that data in a way that your management team is able to make a decision based on that? This simplifying of the real-time experience based on how well you are at, or how well your team is with HR analytics, because here the common goal is to create a better workplace, a better work environment for your employee retention. You want to retain the employees who are already working with you, plus at the same time, you want to attract the best talent which is existing globally. Now, to attract best talent, you don't necessarily have to be a multinational organization. You just have to be a fair organization of any size, working towards the benefit of all the employees. Business, as we say, is not just about profit. It's people, planet, and profit, which we refer to as the triple bottom line these days. And companies like Royal Dutch Shell, companies like Google have done this really well. They have made sure that they're amalgamating all the three aspects of these triple bottom line in one place in order to have a win-win situation for all. Now, when you have these overseas employees, how do they feel connected? Across time zones, across nationalities, across cultures, and especially with the coming of COVID and some companies moving to totally work from home, that official camaraderie has gone missing, right? We all miss those water cooler chats which we used to have before even we came to know what COVID was. So how do we feel connected in this world? It's a good idea to have daily check-ins with your employees across various countries, because if I'm having a check-in today with my team in, let's say, Nepal, I'm expected to have another check-in next week rather than having a check-in with them after 1 month, because I'm checking in with them after 1 month. When I'm doing that, I'm giving them all that time to struggle with an issue, or maybe they wanted to share something important with me. That should not happen. As an HR professional, I have to be made available, and not only as an HR professional, as a team lead or any team member for that matter, has to be made available for the other person. So there are timely solutions to issues. It should not happen that we are not interacting with one another, giving the excuse of these global distances, and which is creating problems for the organization. That is not what we want. We can use multiple channels. It's not necessary that we have to stick to these messaging apps. We can always go to video calls, emails, work or company platforms. These days, various softwares are available which make these chats interesting on company platforms to see, or rather to bring out in fact, even the personal aspects of people, whatever they're dealing with. If there's something which is troubling them, they can always share with their colleagues or their buddies within the organization, which definitely makes life easier for them. And if life is easier for them, they're going to bring the best for your organization. Plus, what can happen is we can hold celebrations together. So waiting for these birthdays or having some award ceremonies or just celebrating another festival, like we said, we are going to enhance our knowledge of different cultures and we're going to celebrate these festivals together. So those could be some of the occasions where the team could come up together and to provide them feedback at the same time, because everybody craves for feedback, right? When you go out there in your office and you do a report, you definitely expect a feedback from your superior, right? Don't you? As to how have you done the job? You want to hear from them in terms of how well you have done, or maybe in case if there is some scope for improvement, that is also you would want to listen to. So provide feedback to your teammates or the people who you're working with. It helps you stay connected, because when you're providing that feedback, it is both the sides of the brain which are getting involved, both your right brain and the left brain, which helps to build trust and transparency. In the beginning, we said we have to have open communication if we are talking about bringing the best out of our global workforce, and bringing the best out of the global workforce comes with transparency. Now, prevailing wisdom from remote management thought leaders says if you don't trust your workers, you should contemplate as to why you hired them in the first place. So why did you hire them? If you're not able to trust them, why did you hire them in the first place? That's the thing you should ask. Now, trust is definitely not built in a day. I would agree. If you have a new worker who has joined your organization, maybe just last week, you won't be trusting that person very well as you trust someone who has been with your organization for 1 year. That is okay. That is one of the facts. However, at least give this person an opportunity to present their best, to feel at home, to feel transparent, to feel that this person exists in an open communication environment. Because when they feel safe, it is then that they are going to share their opinions and their feedback on how the organization can move forward. And mind you here, every small feedback, every small contribution counts. It's not always the managing director who is responsible for the success of the organization. Even somebody who is cleaning the floor when you reach the office in the morning, even the janitor, even the driver, even somebody who is serving tea in your organization has equal role to play. So this is something that I make sure that I share in all the places where I'm speaking, especially when it comes to organizational transformation and bringing the best out of your employees, making sure that they realize their limitless potential. Make them feel valued. Make them feel that they're a part of a community. Make them feel important in the organization. And how or when would you do that? Only when you feel that their contribution counts. If you as a general manager, or you as a director, or you as the vice president, if you feel that I am the only one, or probably my team of certain people is the only one who's making a difference in the organization, my friend, you are mistaken there. Everybody in the organization, every single person has a role to play, an equal role to play. They are contributing to the success of the organization and the experience that your organization is creating for the customers. Because at the end of the day, it is for the customers that you exist. A business exists for the customers and none other. If there are no customers, there is no business. We all sit at home and relax without any jobs, right? So there could be some management tactics for these businesses spanning multiple countries. One, we could focus on continuous improvement, because if we are wanting to hire workforce from different parts of the globe, we must make sure that we are bringing the best practices from these different parts of the globe. That's what we said in the beginning, that we are having diversity so we can learn from each other, to make sure that we are not jumping on the bandwagon when it's about brainstorming, to make sure that we are having a widespread share of ideas whenever there's an issue in the organization, so we have the best possible solution, so we can tune into the right frequency to steer our organization in the right direction. So we focus on continuous improvement, or Kaizen as we call it. Then we outsource when we can. It's not necessary to do everything by yourself. If you're a small organization, if you're not able to hire a global workforce for that matter, because it's not possible for every organization, right? If you are a small organization, let's say consisting of 5 people in the organization, you might not be looking at hiring somebody from another country, though it might sound fancy. So what you can do in that case, you can always outsource when you can. You can collaborate with these people internationally. You can work on these projects together to make sure you're getting the benefit of that international presence of your partners or the people who you're collaborating with. So you can outsource. It's as simple as that. And then concentrate on the goals and the achievements of those goals. So it's important to have the goals. Before goals actually comes the strategy in place of the organization. What is the vision and the mission of the organization? What is it that we really want to achieve? How do we see ourselves 10 years down the line? That has to be very clear with the organizational leadership, and not only with the senior leadership. This has to be concentrated in the blood of even those who are working down the line. Anybody across the hierarchy should be able to tell or should be able to feel, or should be able to synergize with the vision and the mission of the organization. It'll only happen with open communication and making every employee count and making every employee feel important. Next comes learning the local customs again. This is something which I could reiterate as many number of times, because we said culture is the place where we start. Culture lays the foundation for having a global workforce and bringing the best out of them. It doesn't only lay the foundation, it is that binding glue which takes your organization to the next level, which keeps all your employees together, which helps you bring out the solutions, bring out the products, bring out the services that your customers really want. So we are looking at diversity, we are looking at a global workforce. And what do we do? Or how do we rather bring out the best in them? By having to learn their local customs. Because when you're able to respect the other person in terms of who they are and in terms of their customs that they follow in certain ways, right? It is when that they also respond with that respect, and respect and trust come together. So that's why we say learn those local customs, and the people feel appreciated that way. People feel that they're working with an organization which really thinks about them, which really trusts them. And one such example of this organization actually trusting the employees and feeling like a community, one very good example from the COVID-19 times, is the Marriott International. So we are all aware of this chain of hotels called the Marriott International, right? They're employing 200,000 people across the globe. Now, what happened when the COVID struck? The Arne Sorensen, the CEO of Marriott International, he was the one who set out a message to all the employees in the organization, said, we are in it all together. There were no salary cuts. And at the same time, these frontline professionals who were dealing with the customers, in case they got COVID, they were having an arrangement to stay at the hotel itself. And not only the employees, but their families were also covered. So that is what I mean when I say having a sense of community, making the employees feel appreciated, making them as one. Because you know for yourself, if you're working with an organization where you feel like a family member, where you feel like a pillar in the organization, you tend to give your best no matter what. There's nothing stopping you from giving your best and being your best in the organization. So these were some of the tips that I shared for bringing the best out of your global workforce. Because managing is right. Okay, we say managing global workforce, but it's a crude word in a way, because we are all in it together. We are bringing the best out of each other. None of us lacks. It's just that we are contributing to the success of the organization, or rather we are taking our organization to the next level wherever we are, only when we collaborate. So it doesn't happen alone. I leave you with these words. Collaboration is new. Competition is out. So thank you again for having me. And if you have any questions, I'll be very happy to answer those questions now. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. With your permission, shall we start the question session now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Now I hand over the session to Ms. Vasanthi ma'am to take over the question session.
Good evening to all of you, and good evening to our guest speaker. And I request participants, if you have any questions, please put it in the chat box. Our guest speaker today will be very happy to answer the questions. Request all the participants to give their views and also share the questions. There's one question from Mr. Ravishankar Narayanappa. Can you please give some tips how to motivate negative-minded people?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for this question, Mr. Ravi Shankar. So negativity is something which has been crawling around in the universe. So it exists. We cannot deny that there is no negativity. Although these days we are talking a lot about positivity, and we have taken this to a level where we are talking about false positivity also. So, okay, I agree, there exists negativity. Now, the first question that we need to ask ourselves, or rather ask the person that we are interacting with in order to address the negative mindedness, as we call it, is why do they feel so? That is the first thing. What makes them feel so? Has there been a particular instance in the organization? Has there been particular behavior from one of their colleagues in the organization which makes them feel so? Because you would agree that whoever we are, however we behave, is a reason. There's a reason for it. It's a product of something that we have gone through. If there are certain instances which I've had in my childhood which weren't very positive, or which weren't very pleasing, in that case I might not come up as a very pleasing individual, because I will always have those negative memories in my mind. So this negativity, where is the negativity coming from? That is the first question that we need to ask these people, whether they're colleagues or they're our team members, whosoever they are. So once we know where the negativity is coming from, that is when we are actually able to address the situation. It's not necessary that you are the reason for their negativity, or your team is the reason for their negativity. It could be just that they have gone through some incident in the past, maybe 10 years back, when they haven't even met you. So that could be the case, but you need to know where the negativity is coming from in order to address that. Because if we are wanting to simply motivate by just giving a nice positive talk to them, or making them listen to something positive on YouTube or different channels, simple motivation would not help. Because if you go to a doctor and you're having fever, what if the doctor gives you medicine for cough? It doesn't help, right? It doesn't cure the fever. So you need to know the real cause. That's what my take is on this particular question. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Just wait for a minute to have any other question coming up from the audience. Thank you, sir. As there's no questions from the participants, I thank you very much, ma'am, for the excellent presentation you've given us. However, we feel that all the participants must have heard a lot from you and have taken the cue from you. So we would I would like to press over the mic to Mr. Amir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you, Vasanti, ma'am. Thank you so much, madam, for delivering a wonderful and an informative session. Your session was highly successful in the sense that it reached all the participants effectively and helped them to understand more on managing global workforce. Thank you, ma'am. There is an end to everything, but we believe that there is a never end, but always a beginning. Thus, to conclude for today, I request Ms. Amuda, Assistant Professor from the Department of Human Resource Management, is eagerly waiting to express our gratitude to everyone who helped in the success of conduct of today's webinar. I invite her to propose the formal vote of thanks. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ramya. Very good afternoon to all. No duty is more urgent than that of returning thanks. With that being said, today I take this opportunity to express my deepest gratitude and appreciation to all those made this event such a resounding success. I deem it honor and privilege to propose vote of thanks on behalf of Department of Human Resource Management for this one-day international webinar on managing global workforce. Heartfelt thanks to our management and to our Honorable President, Engineer A.C.S. Arun Kumar, and all other executives for rendering their support for conducting the various programs. A special thanks to our eminent speaker of the day, Dr. Supriya Sharma, for her marvelous and valuable enriching section related to the global workforce. It was an eye-opener for all of us to make know about that global workforce enhance the business in multi-dimensional aspects and serves as a baseline. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your presence and for sharing the enlightening words. Heartily thank our joint registrar, Prabhu sir, respected Dean, Dr. A.R. Arnachalam Academic, and Dr. K. Sendil Kumar as administration for their continuous support in conducting various programs. It my honor to thank our HOD, Dr. R.G.M., for providing me an opportunity to deliver out of them. A special thank to the energetic participants for your presence and your continuous support. It's my privilege to thank Ms. Ramya for her wonderful mastering of this webinar, and also I thank Ms. Lokeshwari for introducing our chief guest. It was a stunning profile. Last but not least, my heartfelt thank to Mr. Ganesh Babu and Ms. Ramya for their technical support, and I thank all others who have supported us in all the way. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We could not have done this successfully without our participants and our speaker who spared their time attending this webinar. Thank you very much for the support you are rendering to all our programs. The feedback and assist form is available in the YouTube comment section. Your request to complete and submit the form before today 6 p.m. Later, the form will be deactivated. The e-certificate of participation will be sent to register email within 5 working days. We have come to an end of the program. Hope everyone has gained knowledge. With the satisfaction of presenting good webinar, we wish to sign off and meet you all in the next program. Don't forget to submit your feedback form and subscribe our YouTube channel, Dr.M.G.R. University Phase II Digital Learning, and also follow our department Instagram, Dr.M.G.R. HRM 2019, and we are also available in Facebook, Dr.M.G.R. HRM, Twitter, Dr.M.G.R. HRM 2019 for further updates about programs and videos. Thank you.